Gym Candy Part 3, Chapter 6. The first day back in January, weight training began. Thinking about working hard in the weight room, that's easy. Actually doing it, that's a whole different thing. I'd always figured weights were really important for linemen and linebackers, but not so much for running backs. It was a mindset I had to get rid of, not just for one day, but for every day. I stood outside the weight room with Drew and Deshaun. They were both talking about how much they hated lifting. Normally I would have joined right in with their whining, but now I couldn't let their attitudes seep into me. Guys filtered down into small groups. Some of them were eager. Middleton always loved lifting. But most of them had that dentist office look on their faces. I kept waiting for Drager and Clark to show. When Carlson arrived, he opened the door to the weight room, and we trailed in behind him. Right away, I could see changes he'd made. Banners with the words bigger, faster, stronger were plastered over all the walls. So were posters from the Super Bowl and the Rose Bowl and the Orange Bowl. That wasn't the only change. As Carlson walked us through the room, you could tell how much thought he'd given to everything. The equipment was the same, an aging Smith machine and lots of free weights, but now it was arranged into stations all around the room. On the wall behind each station, Carlson had mounted photos showing what lift we were to do and how we were to do it. Below the photos was a clipboard where we were to write down the weight we'd lifted and the reps we'd done. After he'd explained all the stations, Carlson faced us. I heard Coach Downs in here every day barking at you guys, but I'm not checking on anybody. I've got my job to do out there in the school. You've got your job to do in here. I'll just say this. You saw Rogers. You saw Pasco. It was pretty exciting for them, playing for a championship, TV cameras rolling, stadium rocking, college recruiters watching every down. They played that game in December, but those guys got there because of the off-season work they did in the weight room. If you want to experience a championship, then you have to put in a champion's effort. Not one day, every day. He paused. Last guy out turns off the lights. Carlson left the weight room. We stood up, looked around, unsure what to do. Middleton spoke up. You heard the man. Let's get to it. You need one guy to spot you during weightlifting. I let Drew and Deshaun work together and partnered up with Middleton. He was stronger than I was by a long shot, but with his easy smile and his easy ways, he didn't make any fuss about having to take weights off and put them back on. And seeing how much he lifted gave me still one more push. I worked harder in the weight room than I ever had before. I was so focused on my workout that it wasn't until it was over that I realized Drager and Clark had never shown up. They quit the team, Deshaun said as we left. What? I said. Laura Shelley told me this morning. Her older sister, Kim, is Clark's girlfriend. They're transferring to West Seattle. That's a AAA school. We won't even play against them next year. So here we have Mick taking on the challenge of the weight room, right? He knows he has all the other components of the game except for the power, and that's what he needs. And so he is determined to work really hard in the weight room, no matter if his friends do or not. Right, but he gets in that zone, and he's going to do it. And the interesting thing about this is, if we look at Coach Carlson, he's not staying in there with his players, which, how unusual is that? Is there normally a coach in the weight room with you? Okay. But for Carlson, he wants it all to be on these guys, right? Like, how hard do they want to work? How bad do they want it? He wants them to prove it to him. And that is what Mick is going to do here. And he teams himself up with Middleton, who loves doing weights, not because they bench the same, but because Mick knows that he'll be pushed harder that way.